We are now in a whole lot of superposition trouble, but is the science holding up to this story? Let's talk about Dark Matter Season 1, Episode 4. Hey everyone, it's David Stark from Watcher Pass, and I'm here to talk to you about Dark Matter Season 1, Episode 4, The Corridor, which is coming to Apple TV Plus on May 22nd, 2024. There's a new episode of the sci-fi series that now explores a little bit more of the superposition and this mysterious corridor we got at the end of Season 1, Episode 3. Is this worth your watch? Well, my hot take is, yeah, I think you should watch it, although I didn't like this episode as much as the previous ones. It's still a pretty good episode. It has some big revelations, some interesting places to visit, but it also seems like maybe the science is cracking under the weight of this story. It feels like they are kind of changing what I really liked about this interesting like quantum physics, multiverse type theory into something that is a little bit more, I don't know, conventional or exciting and less based on like the science that this started out with. So I liked it, but I didn't love it as much as the previous one. So all that being said, I'm going to tell you a little about the episode, a few things I liked, a few things I didn't like, and really quickly go into a recap. So as you can imagine, there will be spoilers in the recap section. If you don't want to know what happens in this episode, and you might not, there are some pretty big revelations, then I would turn it off when I get to the recap section. Before that, though, I'll keep it vague. I'll keep it spoiler-free. I'll let you know when I get to those spoilers. So, Dark Matter Season 1, Episode 4 continues right after where Dark Matter Season 1, Episode 3 left off. You had Jason and Amanda going into the box, going into Jason's like quantum superposition box. They went into superposition using the Ryan's special serum, and they emerged in this like corridor of infinite doors, which I guess represents all the infinite possibilities that they could go into. Now, in this episode, they start exploring the corridor. Is it wonderful? Well, it's a little bit dangerous. They go into some pretty interesting areas, but they are trying to figure out how to get back to Jason's family world, family Jason's world. How are they going to do this? And what dangers are they going to encounter in this corridor? Well, you have to watch this episode to find out. So, all that being said, things I liked about this episode. The first, I like the effects. There are some interesting worlds that we get to visit as we are going through the various possibilities, and they are very different and very fun to explore. There are some crazy extremes in the world, and they all look pretty good. The second thing I loved, I like this about season 1, episode 3. It definitely gets emphasized more here. There are some cracks that are forming, some cracks in mostly Science Jason story. So Science Jason is in Family Jason's world. Some of the things that he didn't experience, some of the things that are not like, important to him are starting to kind of grate on the family, or at least show to the family. The family is kind of wondering like what's going on with their dad or with Jason. And they appear to amplify here. There are some pretty big revelations in this episode that Science Jason doesn't really appreciate as much. And the last thing I love, I like the length. It's a pretty long episode. It's 60 minutes. It's longer than any of the previous ones. And I do like that we are kind of getting longer chunks of this series because I do really like this series. And hey, I'll take more anytime. So all that being said, things I didn't love as much. The first, I'll call it the superposition. And this, I can't really get much into it without spoiling the time, but it seems like the science here is not holding up to like the original restrictions that we got from Jason's theory. Now, look, that was theory. Maybe the reality is different, but it seems like the superposition theory is not really what we were told early on. It seems like it has morphed a little bit into, I don't know, a convenience thing in this one. Not going to go super into it, but it doesn't seem to be holding up as well. The second thing I didn't love as much, I'll call it loosening restrictions. It's kind of related, but it feels like, again, the science isn't really holding up. It feels like there are some of the rules that we heard about earlier and some of the effects that happened to Jason and Amanda when they first entered the box don't really seem to matter as much anymore now that we are in the corridor. So again, I'm not going to go into that as much here. I'll go into in the recap, but just it feels like in this episode, the science is not really holding up. It kind of feels, I don't know, not exactly the same, but kind of similar to what happened in Foundation, where in Foundation, it was very heavily based on math and about probabilities. And then they introduced some like magical kind of elements to it that didn't feel like they were in line with what we were originally taught. And this feels similar. This story was based on quantum physics and my rudimentary understanding of quantum physics and this like superposition idea where choices can branch off different universes. And now it feels like they are kind of loosening that for some like more exciting experiences. So all that being said, Dark Matter Season 1, Episode 4, Is coming to Apple TV Plus on May 22nd, 2024. Like I said, I think you should watch it. I didn't love this as much as the previous episodes, but I still liked it. So I definitely think you should still check it out. If you haven't seen the rest of Dark Matter, get on that train. There's only 3 episodes that you're missing. This is the fourth, so you can catch up pretty quickly and be ready for the next, I think, 4 episodes as this series continues. So I'm going to get into a recap right now. So if you don't know what happens in this episode, I would turn it off right now because there will be spoilers. So in Dark Matter Season 1, Episode 4, Jason and Amanda are exploring this corridor, this mysterious corridor. This is Family Jason, who was in Science World. He and Amanda escaped from Science World just in time. They got in the box as they were getting pursued by Leighton and entered the superposition. So now they have all these choices, but it's a little daunting. They have all these choices. They don't know which one is going to bring them back to Jason's world. So they just kind of start exploring. And they get to some very interesting worlds. They get into like a nuclear wasteland kind of world. They get into a world where it seems like everything is prehistoric. Like there was no Chicago. And we learn some truths as this exploration happens. One, the box always seems to appear where the box appears. It kind of exists in all the superposition universes. It is the kind of like anchor point for everything. So regardless of whether or not that box was invented in that world, it seems to exist in that world at the exact spot where the box was first built in Science Jason's world. And like I said, you get some very extreme kind of different worlds. And again, I don't really feel like the science holds up. Maybe this is how quantum physics actually works. I have just a very rudimentary understanding of quantum physics. But the way that this was explained in this series is that every choice that Jason made spawns off another possible universe. Every choice he makes is like there is one universe where he makes a choice, there's one universe where he doesn't make the choice, and that branches off into these infinite possibilities. But in doing that, you would think that everything would be grounded in Jason's life. Everything would be similar worlds to what Jason experienced because Jason is the catalyst to all of these various choices. Now, Amanda's here too, so I guess her choices also could spawn off other worlds, but overall, the catalyst is Jason's life. So you would think that each of these worlds, while being different, would at least be some semblance of the same type of reality. Now, what we quickly learned is that is not the case because you have one world where there was like a nuclear winter. And I guess, sure, like there could have been a nuclear war that spawned due to one of Jason's choices. Seems highly unlikely, but maybe. But then you also get this world where like it's prehistoric. Like they open the door and like Chicago's not there. It's like all trees. And you're like, huh, that doesn't seem like something that could happen in Jason's lifetime. At least if humanity died off, there would be some crumbling buildings. It wouldn't just be all forest. That seems to not be a world that has spawned from Jason's choices. And it seems to like kind of not exist in this superposition type of world. Like the superposition world is like you are experiencing every possible Jason world at the same time. And in this prehistoric world, it doesn't seem like there is even a Jason there. Maybe there is. I don't know. Well, it doesn't seem like it. It doesn't seem like there would be a Jason that exists in that world. And so you also get some other worlds where it's like, a sea has taken over Chicago, and there's like a snowstorm that is burying Chicago. All these different possibilities that seem very divergent from the kind of like base Jason world. And so that is where I kind of was like, yeah, these are exciting. It makes it very much into like a quantum leap situation or like the Simpsons episode where they were able to travel through time. It doesn't seem like it's grounded in the science of this universe. So all that being aside, let's talk a little bit more about where they go. So Jason and Amanda go into various worlds. Like I said, there's like a nuclear wasteland type of world. There's one world where there's like no atmosphere and the sun is giant and close to the earth. Again, doesn't seem like something that Jason would have done. It seems like that is just a very divergent world, but okay. And eventually they make it into this like freezing cold nuclear winter type world. Like it's a day after tomorrow kind of world. And at this point, Amanda's freaking out. She's annoyed. She's like not sure if they'll ever get home. She just like runs into this world and like doesn't turn away. And like, Amanda, what are you doing? So Jason, being the good guy that he is, doesn't just let her freeze. He goes and pursues her. And he pursues her. He catches up to her. He calms her down. But now they're in a kind of wasteland, a frozen wasteland. And they don't know where the box is. It's like a crazy storm around. They have no idea where they are. They don't know where they're going. So they find a cabin, break in, and spend the night there. Amanda apparently has suffered from probably hypothermia. I'm not sure. She seems to go down really quickly. Jason has to carry her into this place, and then she is like out for a day, which is weird because she was only in this world for, I don't know, like, well, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and Jason seemed fine. Amanda, though, suffered greatly, and so he has to nurse her back to health. They wait for the storm to blow over, and now they are stuck with the problem of like, the storm blew all this snow here. How are we going to find the box to get back? They can't see it. The snow covered it all. And this was one thing that was also kind of like frustrating. Again, I said that it seems like they're softening some of the requirements. Remember the first time that they jumped, the very first time, they had to take this drug. It like knocked them out almost. It like turns off one of your like parts of your brain. And so they were like in a haze when they were then pushed into the superposition world. Now it feels like they can just go in willy-nilly. I mean, they still technically have to have the drug. They have to do that to open the box, but it seems like they take the drug once and they've got like 20 jumps that they can do. They take the drug, they're in the box, boom, corridor world. They open the door, look inside, close the door, back in corridor world, and they're coherent through this. They are able to kind of like think logically as they're going through the corridor. Jason is like counting the doors to try to figure out how far they've gone. So it seems like a lot of the restrictions are again being loosened to make for arguably a more exciting story, a more interesting story. It'd be very annoying if they had to like pass out every time they went into another world, but it does feel like they are loosening these up. And also this box like existing throughout the quantum world again feels convenient. I mean, I understand why it would really suck if they like opened the door to a world that didn't have the box and they're like, well, I guess we're stranded here. We can't do anything. But it does feel like once you are in one of these worlds, your superposition is over. You have like collapsed the system. You are now like you don't exist simultaneously in every world. You exist in this specific world. And so that would then cause, your consequences to be that you are now in this world and you'd have to like find some really difficult way to get back, either rebuild the box, retake the drug, whatever. But it seems like they are able to like go in the box, step into the world, look around, be like, we don't like this world, go back in the box, and the box is always there. It feels like, again, very convenient choices. I understand why. It'd be really boring if they were just like, well, I guess we're stuck in this winter world. We're never going to leave. But it does feel like, they are making some convenient choices. So again, back to the winter world. Jason nurses Amanda back to health. She, survives, but she is pretty weak. And then they have the problem of we have to find the box. Now, luckily for them, they do discover some truths about this world while they're going through. The box is always in the same location. So they have a GPS device. GPS apparently doesn't change. I guess they could have been in a world where maybe the satellites weren't launched, like that prehistoric world. That would have screwed them over. They didn't enter that one though. But GPS doesn't change. And so they're able to usually find the box, except in this world, it's too cold. I guess the GPS device freezes. But Amanda goes old school. She takes out a compass and uses the compass to find the box. Apparently the box emits its own magnetic field. I don't know. I guess it's powered somehow, or maybe what it's made of has some sort of radiation magnetic field. I'm not sure. But the box emits its own magnetic field. So she uses the compass to kind of figure out where the box is. And when she's over the box, it starts spinning like crazy because she's on top of the pole that is drawing the compass. And so they were able to then find the box. Now, again, I don't know how they do this because the box is like 20 something feet tall. They are on top of fresh snow. So they're somehow apparently able to dig down to where the door to the box is, open it without having the snow collapse in on them and bury them alive. So they're able to dig down like 20 feet, structurally keep it sound while they do this, get the right side of it. So they found the door and open it up. They're back. Okay, good. Now they make it back, but while they were recovering in the cabin before they were able to find the box, there were some revelations that happened. One, Jason and Amanda figured out how this might work. We find out that Amanda was thinking about this time when she was young, when they used to go on ski trips to Argentina, and they would get there and there would be these horrible whiteout blizzards, and you wouldn't be able to see anything. The winds would be crazy. And she said that she felt helpless and frustrated while they were going through the worlds earlier, like she did when she was young. And so Jason figures out that her thinking about that experience when they're opening the door caused that world to kind of manifest. It is the secret type of thing. Like you wish it, you think it, there it is. And so that is how they were able to kind of like control the boss. And Jason starts, they start relating other things. Like one, Jason said something like, there are infinite worlds here. There's one world where we didn't make it into the box. Well, he said that, and then they opened the door and they entered a world where they didn't make it into the box, where Leighton caught them before Dawn shot Amanda and captured Jason. That was another possibility. And so they now think they're able to control the choices. If they think about a certain thing, that will influence what the door is. So again, seems a little convenient. All these doors represent infinite possibilities. Each one should be a separate choice. They should be kind of opening doors forever. This does make it easier for them to find the world that they're looking for. So, I understand why they did it. Also, while they are recovering, Jason tells Amanda that, oh, it's his son's birthday. And Amanda's like, oh, like I'm sorry you're missing it. How old is he? And Jason's like, he's 16. But it turns out that Jason was talking about the other son, the son that we learned about when Science Jason was going through Family Jason stuff, and there was a box in there labeled Maximilian. We get a little more backstory. It turns out that when Jason and Danielle had a kid, they had twins. They had Charlie and Max. But Max had like a heart abnormality. And so he was born first. He was a fighter. He lived through some surgeries, but he couldn't take all the surgeries. And on the third surgery, he didn't make it. So Max was their kid also. He died at a very young age. And, every day on his birthday, they kind of celebrate his life. They kind of light a candle. They think about him. They tell a story about how he was born, things like that. And it turns out that Charlie was very close to Max. When they were young, they were inseparable. When Max got sick, Charlie was like by his side the entire time. So this is something that is very important to Family Jason's family and Family Jason also. So important revelations. We learned that they control the box, and then they were able to find the box using the compass and get back into superposition world. Again, very convenient. So now to Science Jason in Family World. Now, Science Jason seems to be getting a little bit unhappy with his current life. He likes his life, he likes his family, obviously, but he doesn't like being a teacher. He doesn't like not having money. So he starts, again, like I said, there are cracks that are forming here. He starts making decisions and saying things that don't feel like what Family Jason would have said. Science Jason is used to nicer things, and so he mentions things like their car sucks. It does suck, but they aren't in a position to buy a new car. He mentions things like, he's not as cautious as Family Jason was. Things like that happen. Well, what Science Jason does is he is teaching his class in Family Jason's world, and the students aren't really paying attention. They're not listening to him, and so he just like quits. He's like, "Screw this, I'm done. Good luck," and he quits his job. Not what Family Jason would have done, but Science Jason doesn't care. He goes to see his old friend Leighton. Apparently, they were college buddies. They were college friends back in the days, and he goes to see his friend Leighton. Leighton in this world is very different from Science Jason's Leighton. Science Jason's Leighton is the kind of CEO of Velocity. They're working together. In this world, Leighton, his father still owns the company. Leighton is just living off of the funds. He doesn't speak to his father, and he is kind of living a trust fund life. Now, Jason comes to him asking for money, asking to be an investor, and Leighton pretty early on is like, "Look, I'm not investing in anything. Ryan came earlier asking for money. I'm just not going to invest in anything right now." But Science Jason has something special to show him. He takes Leighton to the box. Remember, the box exists in every universe. And so even though Family Jason hasn't built the box, it is here where Science Jason built it in his world. So Jason takes Leighton there, gives him the drugs, and they enter into the superposition. And there, Science Jason shows Leighton some possibility. We don't know exactly what it was. They emerge after coming to this world. You don't see what they saw, but Leighton does say something like, it was the most beautiful thing he's ever seen. He was alive, living, breathing. I'm not sure exactly what they saw. Maybe they met Leighton's grandfather. I'm not certain. But Leighton is intrigued, and Leighton, I think, wants to invest in this. And Leighton's like, "You could have shown this to anyone. Why me?" And Jason's like, "Because I can trust you." And Leighton's like, "Look, like we're not close. I don't really think you could trust me." And then that is when Science Jason tells Leighton about his world and how in his world, he and Leighton have worked together for years. It's one of his best friends, and he knows that even though this isn't the same Leighton, it is someone he trusts that Leighton, and so he knows he can trust this one as well. So some things, Science Jason is kind of showing who he is to certain people to try to win their trust. And he wants to kind of rebuild what he had in Science World here. He's basically kind of like wanting to transpose what he had in his other world to this world where he also has a family. Is that going to be compatible? Well, we'll have to see because in doing this and showing all of this to Leighton, he is missing Max's birthday. Um, Daniella and Charlie are at the house. They are waiting for Jason. Charlie's like, "Where's Dad?" And he's like, and Daniella's like, "I don't know. I've texted him. He hasn't answered." So they have the ceremony. They have the ceremony for Max's birthday. They light a candle. They, go to a tree that was planted when Max died. They mix some ashes. They mix some of Max's ashes in the soil there, and they have like a remembrance ceremony for Max. And Jason doesn't show, which is very uncharacteristic of him. And so after the ceremony, after it's all done, Charlie asks his mom, like, "Does that seem different to you? Does he seem a little off?" Before Danielle can answer that, Jason shows up and he's like, "Hey, it's your birthday. Let's do birthday stuff." And he has brought flowers, he's brought champagne, and he brought a present for Charlie. Now, Charlie mentions like, "Hey, you missed Max's day." Like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Like I had a very busy day. I couldn't come." But he is excited for Charlie to open his present. And so Charlie opens his present, and what is it? It is a car key. And Jason's like, "Happy birthday from me and your mom." And you can tell that Daniela wasn't involved in this because her face is full of shock. She's like, "What the heck?" But Charlie's very excited. He's a kid. He's a 16-year-old kid who now has a car. Of course he's happy. He runs outside to see it is a nice new SUV. So he goes out to start the car. Daniela and Jason are talking, and Jason's like, "Look, like I quit my job today." And she's like, "What? What are you talking about? Like, we can't live on my salary." He's like, "I think you should quit your job too. You should go back to painting." And she's like how? Like how? What? And Jason's like, "Look, I remember that project I worked on before Charlie was born, that little box." And she's like, "Yeah, I do remember that." It's like, "Well, it was important to me, and I found an investor, and so we don't have to worry about money." Again, it feels like he is trying to move the things that he liked about his life in science world over to this world. He is getting an investor. He's going to do this box idea. He's going to become this big respected scientist, but he's going to have Daniela and Charlie. But he wants Daniela to be the painter Daniela, the one that, is in his world, I think. Also the one that, I think she loved painting. So maybe he is being nicer. Maybe he wants her to be happy also. Who knows? But it seems like Science Jason is trying to kind of build the perfect life in this world, which is probably why he chose this world at the start. So that is the two Jasons. There is one last little revelation. So after Family Jason and Amanda went into the box in Science Jason's world to start the whole superposition, Leighton in that world was like, "I'm not losing Jason again. I'm gonna go find him." So he put on, he gave himself the serum, went into the box, and put himself in the superposition. But unfortunately, Leighton doesn't know much about this world. He doesn't know how this works. So he starts kind of like opening doors, not sure what to do. We get an update after all the episode happens, and we see Leighton again, but he looks worse for wear. He is like bleeding, he's limping, he's clearly seen some stuff. He is like walking through. He opens one of the doors, and it's just like a desert world. Like it's Chicago, but there doesn't appear to be any water. It's just all sand. And so he closes the door and kind of keeps moving on. It seems like maybe Leighton didn't make the right choice following Jason into this superposition world, and he might be stuck here for a while. Leighton's pretty smart. Maybe he'll be able to figure it out. I guess we'll have to wait to find out because that is the end of the episode after all these revelations, after we see Leighton kind of stuck in superposition. That is the episode. That is Dark Matter Season 1, Episode 4. So, what do we think is going to happen next? Well, I had to guess. I am going to guess that some of the cracks that are forming in Science Jason's life in Family World are going to start coming to a head. I feel like maybe Daniela was planning something else. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not sure. She seems a little unhappy in some of the scenes. It seems like maybe she has some weight on her. Maybe she was thinking about leaving Jason. I don't know. But it feels like the sudden radical change of Science Jason is probably going to put some strain on the family relationship. Like, remember, he didn't remember Max's birthday, which was kind of a big deal. He is spending like crazy without a job. We'll see if he can keep this up. And he is making very big radical changes to their life. I think that is going to kind of like start pushing the issue. I think maybe at some point, Daniela and Charlie are going to maybe confront him or come to some sort of like agreement with each other that he is different. I think that's probably happened. So on the other hand, Family Jason world, Now that they can kind of control the superpositions, or at least think they can control the superpositions, it seems like maybe they are going to be able to get back to Family Jason's world. We'll see. I think that'll be interesting to see what happens if they do get back, to see what that kind of confrontation happens and what happens when you have two Jasons in the same world and presumably two Amandas. Amanda exists in this other world too. We just haven't seen her because she wasn't a major part of Family Jason's life. That could be interesting too. We'll see what happens there. And also, will Science Layton make it back? I don't know. I'm not sure. It doesn't seem like he is in a very good place, but we'll just have to wait to find out. That is Dark Matter Season 1, Episode 4. Like I said, I definitely think you should watch it. It comes to Apple TV Plus on May 22nd, 2024. And if you haven't seen the whole series, definitely jump on it. It is a good series. It is fun. I would definitely recommend it. So get on it now so you can keep following up until the rest of this season. And if you do check it out, let me know what you thought. Let me know what you liked and didn't like. I would love to hear it. And if you like this review, please like and subscribe to this channel because you really don't want to spawn another world where you didn't like and subscribe to this channel. That would be horrible. So please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.